Good afternoon, everybody. As it was stated, my name is Dr. 5D. Um, Today, we're going to talk about how do you heal from a breakdown. Okay? Can we all agree that our brain is our own personal computer? I mean, just think about it. It runs nonstop, it processes millions of signals every second throughout the day. And if we had to think about our brain being a computer, there are 6 components that I'm going to use as reference to correlate how our brain could be a computer. Okay? So the prefrontal cortex is like our operating system. Anybody see Inside Out inside in here? Inside Out kind of depicted what the operating system looked like. And it actually had to do some research with neuroscientists to be able to get the replication of what it goes on in our brain. And I'm going to try to articulate that through this talk today. The second one that I'm going to bring up is our limbic system. Our limbic system is our emotional headquarters, but it's also our operating system. And then we're going to talk about the amygdala. The amygdala is an alarm, it's our firewall. So when we start feeling these emotions, it sounds off an alarm that kicks into our cortisol or our adrenaline, which is our surge protectors. And lastly, I'm going to talk about our neuroplasticity, which is our software update, and it's our ability to rewire once we start having a breakdown. Okay. So before I start about the breakdown, there's a stress buildup. Have anybody in here ever experienced a mental breakdown? Let me just decide to go through what happens with our brain when we start to have a mental breakdown. When life starts to hit us hard and life starts lifing, there is a breakdown inside. The brain is built to rewire during this time, okay? And when stress is constant, the brain sounds off. So there's an alarm. The amygdala sounds an alarm when we start having constant stress, okay? But the amygdala is a smoke detector. It starts to feel what's when we start to break down. It starts to tell us through an alarm what starts to happen. And the amygdala, sorry, slow down. It controls a lot of our emotions, such as fear, anger, and aggression. Our prefrontal is the crisis manager for that. So we can start feeling something scared. I'm scared that something's behind me. So my amygdala starts to kick in and it says, run. My prefrontal cortex says, calm down, it's just your shadow. So that's how that actually works when that goes down. Um, so during the breakdown, what actually happens is our prefrontal cortex, which is it handles logic, memory, and problem solving. During a mental breakdown, the prefrontal cortex get overwhelmed. Okay. And when this happens, things like our logic and our memory and problem solving, it shuts down. And our raw emotions that come from our amygdala starts to rise. So things like anger, aggression starts to flow. We start to get sad for some reason. All these emotions just start to come to the head. This is why people that experience a mental breakdown, they feel like they're losing control because basically they did lose control. The prefrontal, which is the control panel, shut down. So the office manager is not allowed to get back in there to tell the amygdala to calm down. A mental breakdown kind of feels like a computer that's freezing. And you know what starts happening when a computer starts to freezing? It has a lot of tabs that's open. That happens with us. We have a lot of tabs that's open. And when that happens, we start to heal. And I heard somebody talk about healing earlier, but let me tell you what healing actually does. Healing through a mental breakdown, nobody tells you that you're going to get worse before you get better. You think that healing is just going to be a smooth process. No, it's actually going to get worse before it get better. You may cry more. You may start to feel a little bit more painful experiences come up, and you may start to drown in some of your emotions. But let me tell you this, that's the messy part of healing, but it's the part of the process when you start feeling those feelings. For me, healing actually looked like me snapping at some of my family members for no reason at all, or crying for a song that was on the radio. That's what healing felt like to me. Because our brain and our body system holds painful memories like hidden files. And that's what I was telling you about earlier. Our hippocampus is our memory drive. Sometimes they hide to protect us because we're not ready to deal with those hidden files. But when our brain senses that we're strong enough and we're supported enough to start to heal, that's when those files start to come back. They start to come back up. And that's when our system, and that's our system way of telling us that it trusts us, because our brain has a safety feature, and that's what a breakdown is. It is our brain safety. So the the upgrade from rebuilding, there is hope from the upgrade of rebuilding, and it's called the science of hope. Okay. The same brain that put you through a breakdown is the same brain that's built to rebuild. It's called neuroplasticity, which is a complex word for the ability to rewire. I had my share of breakdowns throughout my life. And basically, through my share of breakdowns, I realized that I got stronger after every breakdown. So every breakdown was a part of my process. But the neuroplasticity is where the gift came from, because neuroplasticity is me having the ability to rewire myself. I'm not going to stay the same. Every new choice that I make, every prayer that I do, every exercise that I have, it sparks a new pathway. And when I have these new pathways, over time, these new pathways, they calm down the amygdala. They strengthen my prefrontal cortex, and it restore balance to myself. In other words, the same brain that malfunctioned under pressure is the same brain that helped me function. In closing, I just want us to know that a mental breakdown is not a sign of weakness. Okay, it's the brain hitting a reset button because it knows that our current wires is not strong enough to handle what we got current today. And thanks to neuroplasticity, it's proof that as we go through healing and transformation, that scientifically that we can heal. Thank you for my talk.